What is up? Everything looks good. Okay, one thing I'm gonna have to figure out is nice. I'm gonna have to figure out a new position for my microphone because every time it gets in front of that camera, it changes focus. Unless I just change the types of, the depth of field of my camera. So anyway, welcome. It's kind of a surprise stream for some. It's not going to be too long. All we're going to be talking about today is the NRPL Hooligan Cup layout, as requested. So I don't know what it was. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why there are so many events happening in the next 2 weeks, but I've been asked to review like 10 layouts this weekend. So I'll be covering this and then the TSXL layout and the next section of the stream. So anyway, as I always say, if you guys have been longtime viewers and have not subscribed yet, please subscribe. It helps me out a lot. It's free, right? We're almost to 3,000. Pretty crazy. If you've been a longtime sub and are considering ways in which you can support the channel, consider becoming a member. It's super cheap. It helps me out. And join the Discord server. I feel like a broken record because of how many streams we've done in the last like 24 hours. But that's all right. So let's jump right into it. Interesting layout. It looks almost, it has a lot of similar elements as the I joined all. Yes, you did. These are facts. Thank you. But this has a very similar feel to the Golden State Open, which I think is kind of cool. So let's take a look then first at the zones here. It might be that we'll draw that one to start and then we'll kind of figure it out. So these are kind of weird, but you really could do a couple of different things here. So this one for sure is good. Arizona and or Charger. Use Charger if you're going to only use the outermost zones for your calls. This is Iowa or Dragon. It's either Charger or Dragon or Iowa, Oklahoma, Texas, Nevada, and Iowa, Nevada, Texas, Oklahoma, Arizona. And I feel like you could probably move these around a little bit. The biggest thing that you do with the snake side when you talk about zones is you want to, whatever insert bunker there is before you go into the snake, you do not want that bunker to be in the outermost zone. Because when you call Arizona, it's really to signify, or Charger for that matter, it's to signify that there's no one in the corner and there's no one in the snake. So then anything outside of that is not within the Arizona zone. So that's kind of why I drew the line there. Oklahoma is really the zone where the number 2 is going to be on the snake side, and it's likely going to be that he's going to kick out here. And it's also possible that he might push up somewhere in the center, but that's okay. Like it's okay for us to draw the zone this way. Texas is obviously anywhere that we would find the number 3 off the break in any standard sort of breakout. Nevada, where we'd find the number 2 on the Dorito side typically, and that's where this is a little tricky because we want to ensure that the Iowa or Dragon call signifies whether or not somebody is in those Doritos or in the corner. It's possible that the number 1 actually might go to this little juice box here pretty frequently and then get into the Doritos. But it's also okay to have like an Iowa or an Arizona call right off the break. That's also okay. So use those if you want to. But now we're going to walk the baseline and see what shots exist. So teeny gap here. I wouldn't really worry about this one. I don't think the home guy could get his shots to you in time. This gap, however, is definitely one that you'll need to worry about. So that gap is definitely concerning. You also have the gap on the outside of it as well from here. And these gaps, him shooting at you is going to be a lot more dangerous than you shooting at them because those are pretty small shots to filter in. Let's see, cross field. If we were to stop and use this gap, we have a pretty decent shot towards the Dorito side if we stop here behind this bunker and blind out the home. If we go out to the Aztec, we have this not same shot, but we have a shot for the Dorito 1. To be honest, if I were to shoot the Dorito side, I would just use this as the blind. It's going to be a lot faster, pretty safe, pretty big gap here. You know, if you want it, if you're relying on your crossfield shot to kill the Dorito player, this person's risking their body out to this mini Aztec, and so they might die and not be able to get those shots down range. Heads up as far as running and gunning to this little cake. You've got pretty standard heads up shots. You do have a crossfield shot that if you slid to here, you could shoot. I don't think that's worth it. But that is a thing. So it's possible for you to run out here. It's just by the time you should be sliding in here, you're already like right here. So you really shouldn't be standing up, shooting, and then getting in here. If we keep going to the corner, then this little cake, the home can't see you unless he stays at the start box. But the can on the Dorito side can see you, so that's interesting. Just if we'll look at the Dorito side and see if that crossfield shot is worth staying on. It's not I mean, it's a true tape in a sense that the outermost bunkers can see down the wire, but it's not like a straight line. And these cakes are hard to survive in, so I'm not sure how often it'll be played to get out to this corner, but I think I always feel like as a responsive move, like let's say for example you send a guy to the snake and that guy dies and you're the number 2 right here. It's always, you know, I feel like it's pretty common to send a guy out to this corner, but I don't know if that's worth it as opposed to just going straight into the snake, because it's a cake. It's hard to survive. Okay, let's look at the Dorito baseline then. So heads up, no real concerns on this route just yet. Right here is the first gap that you would need to worry about from the home player, but that's a pretty small gap. It is definitely there, and it's probably not as bad from their perspective as it is from ours. So shooting back at the home is not very viable from the Dorito side so far. Cross field, this is a great shot. That shot that we saw from the snake's perspective is in fact really good. Which side do you think is stronger? I don't know yet. We'll find out here in a second. We just started, so I'll walk the whole field and by the end of it kind of determine what I think is like the stronger, like usually it's a hold or a push side. So we'll find out. So this gap is pretty strong and it's pretty survivable, I would think, from the home. So pretty solid crossfield shot. You also do have over the shot, over the top brick shots towards the number 2. I don't think that would be a concern. I don't think that's something you need to worry about, but that is there. And then if we keep running baseline, once you pass this little gap right here, you're pretty safe. And interestingly, you actually have a really cool blind up the middle. So if you were to run out past this can and round it, first of all, you're completely blinded to the home. He could shoot over you or over this Aztec and hit you, but otherwise you're super blinded and you can run up to this Aztec while you're looking towards the middle and either potentially kill this guy who's running out to the tower, or rather just a guy who would be running up to the tower, or somebody running up to the middle. I mean, it would probably be like a 50-50 trade. But that's not a bad that's not a bad play. Or the other option is to just round the corner and then keep shooting heads up like this, looking in this zone right here and shooting anybody trying to take the Dorito off the break. And then you can either stay here to hold the Dorito 1 or the juice box guy. You can stay here to hold these two. Or is that a floating juice box? That is indeed a floating juice box. Okay. I forgot to clarify. Oh, wait. I don't know who set this up. Actually, just kidding. I'm not sure if this is somebody in my Discord community or if this is actually from NRPL. So that's pretty funny that those are just floating. But otherwise, you can hold this gap right here. It's just pretty strong. And if you tiger somebody out of this zone, then you can pump the paint in this zone. Oh, shoot. My computer's frozen. I've been having... I'm sure you guys can probably still hear me. I've been having computer issues in the last 24 hours because I recently changed my PC, changed the components, and I changed components because I was having issues with it. So let's see if I can even get out of this. So yeah, you guys, yeah, we're still here, right? You guys can still hear me. I don't know what's been going on, but my PC's just been freezing. So not sure what that's about. And I might have to like hard restart. Yeah, we're like frozen. That's unfortunate. Come on. I might have to lower my clock speed. Okay. Well, that's going to have to be the case. I don't know if we're still here. I don't know if you guys can still hear me. But I assume we are. I'm going to have to restart my PC. I'm going to put us in BRB mode screen. I will be right back. Hold on, guys. Oh. Transmitting that, huh? Okay, are we back? You guys here? Oh, that's just really quiet. Are we back? Hello? Wow. That's annoying. Okay, it looks like we're back. Wow, that's an advantage of having a streaming PC, I'll tell you. I assume we're back. Sounds like my audio's transmitting. You guys can hear the stream. We're here. No layout though. Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to make sure. So, okay, sorry guys. I don't mean for that to be a huge chunk of the stream, but it is what it is. So we'll try to get through this quickly. All right. That's a pretty good spot to hold the gap, and if you wanted to filter up to this wedge, you could as well. But this wedge is going to be pretty hard to hold this zone. So it feels like this would be the move that you'd come to challenge this guy right here. Seems like that would be the play. Otherwise, you probably want to stay back here as a way to hold the zone on the Dorito tape. Continuing to run out to the corner. It looks to be that you're pretty safe. The Dorito side run is pretty safe, it looks like. So that would lead me to believe that the most dangerous part is if you were to try and take this bite into the Dorito 1, because the guy in the can would likely be shooting you before then. So definitely this can here is super safe for the number 2. And for the number 1, this is also super safe. I don't know why there's such a huge gap. But taking these juice boxes seems to be pretty safe. So let's go then over to the snake side really quick. Actually, I'm going to change it up. I'm going to go through the middle because I feel like the middle is really straightforward and it helps us know what we can kill really easily on either side. So again, going up to this middle, shooting the snake way is really strong here and here. If you wanted to just be super safe, I'd just pump your paint right here as you walk up. And then you could also have a lot of coverage by sending your number 2 to this blind spot right here. And I mean, you don't even have to move that far up. You could just do it. You know, you could stay back here and have this guy shoot cross, have this guy shoot towards snake, and you've got pretty decent coverage. And then this guy can either run out here and shoot for the middle runner if there ends up being a middle runner, or simply just play heads up and get up to this Aztec to hold. It's also an option. Again, the only thing that I'll say, guys, just as a preface all the time, is that if your number 2s push up to the middle-ish part of the field on their side, so like if this number 2 on the snake side decided to push up here and whatever, let's say there was a bunker right here, the biggest issue with that is you're trading being closer to your opponent's front player to not being able to fill in the case that you lose your front player. That's the thing you're trading. Because if your front player dies, in this case, like let's say your Dorito 1 guy dies here and your number 2 is right here, you have to have your number 3 backtrack and come this way. It's not very common that you'll be able to just like laterally dive into the Doritos. It's possible, it's just not very common. And it's also very risky. So you number 1s need to survive when that happens. So we said the middle. Okay, so then if we push up to this Aztec here, after we use it as a blind, we've got an okay zone control from the Dorito, small Dorito to the Dorito 1. Okay-ish. You have an up the center challenge on the home guy if you wanted to. But if you decided to look snake way instead, let's say you came out to this dead zone and you shot snake way all the way up until here, you actually do see the zone or the gap where the snake guys would be diving, but that'll be a hard shot to hit on the run. So if you're good at running and gunning, take that shot on the snake side. Otherwise, you're probably only going to want to filter out in this dead zone. Oh my gosh. You're only probably going to want to filter out in this dead zone to then bump out to this Aztec, right? You're really just trying to run baseline, get some shots down range right here. I don't know why my computer's hitching so bad. And then come out right here. Boom. Now you're good. So that would be my suggestion. Filtering up then towards the Aztec. So let's say you use the Aztec as a blind. This is really strong. Wow. Look at that snake gap. That is a huge, huge shot. Very safe to make this move up here. And then holding the zone. If they stop right here, this is like a lockdown zone for you. That is a super strong lockdown. So you could, in theory, have a play where you send the number 2 on the Dorito, or maybe even the number 3 right here. Send somebody here locking down the snake, this entire gap, and then you send your other guy. I'm not sure you'd push him up the middle, but you could. It's just it becomes less good the further up the field you go. But then this guy could go and lock this zone down. Biggest issue with this is you start to get dug out. If these people pass these zones that you're controlling, if they pass them, then you're in really bad spots. So it works if you can hold the zones, and sometimes it frees your front players to make a bunch of moves. But just know that if they get past those and you miss the shot, then you're in trouble. Because as soon as that guy gets into the snake, you do have a snake gap to hold. You can hold this gap, for example, but it becomes a lot more dangerous for you to be here, because you're essentially living behind your gun. The moment that they decide to shoot at you from this angle or get to this bunker and shoot at you, you're in a lot of trouble, because you can't really hide from them while not being, you know, and you're getting shot at by the Dorito side essentially. So if you had to bail this plan, you could. It's just if they pick up on where you're at, the home guy's probably not going to let up. The home guy's probably going to shoot at you like crazy. Sorry, one sec. So just be aware of that. But you could bail out to here and protect yourself from the snake, and then look Dorito heads up. If you decided to, if they got to the snake one and you decided to go up the middle, you'd have to be a little cautious, especially if you did this as a read and react, because these angles, the Dorito guy can definitely kill you. Even if they send the guy to the tower, he could kill you. So just be aware. But if you decided to come to the middle, now you have a bit of a safer gap to hold. It's just not, you can't really react to this gap. You'd have to probably, I mean, you could, if the guy was slow going from the snake 1 to the snake 2, you could then wait to shoot until you saw them. But if that guy's moving fast, that might be a hard gap to hit. Maybe. Obviously, the wrap potential is super strong to hold these two people. If they actually, yeah, okay, so here's what I would say. If you want to punish the snake, what you could, oh yeah, this is a great play, holy. So if on the breakout, you're number 2 on the Dorito side, or even again, the number 3 would probably be better suited to do this, maybe? Yeah. We can talk about that in a second. But if you come up here shooting that snake gap and nobody crosses this zone right here, nobody crosses that, then I would take this bite instantly and I would hold it from there. Because then as soon as you do that, you're pretty safe to make this move off the break. And as soon as you do that, look at how strong this hold is. There's nobody's crossing that unless somebody comes and digs you out, right? So that's a really good read and react for either the number 2 on the Dorito side or the number 3. But I would probably put the number 3 to do that, because then what you could do is if you sent the number 3 here, then your number 2 could stay here and your number 1 could float out in this zone. And so you still have the coverage that you need. And you're essentially bingoing the snake runner right here. And then as soon as this guy shoots this zone and they either tiger the guy or he just crosses it, then you look heads up and you dive into this bunker. Or you go to the corner, or you just go straight into the snake. This is a read and react for this person. And this is a read and react for this person. To then maybe go up to the middle right here. So that's probably how I would do it. I would probably pull up short-ish on the snake side and send your number 3 here. Because the only problem with doing the number 2 in the Doritos, not really a problem, but it's just if you put your number 2 here and your number 3 here and your number 1 here, you're essentially just going to have your number 3 go this way anyway. Very likely. And you won't have as much coverage. And the other problem with this play is that if you put your number 2 here and your number 1 somewhere in these bunkers, well, the only person in this play who's looking Doritos is your number 2 on the snake side. Obviously, you have coverage on the snake side, or excuse me, on the Dorito. You have coverage on the snake side with the number 2 on the Doritos, but you're doing a cross that prolongs the push on either side of the field, right? The purpose of bingoing the one person and using your 3 to do it on the snake side is that as soon as you do kill that dude, you then this guy can either switch. Well, let's say he actually made it up to here. Excuse me. Let's say he made it to here. So as soon as you tiger this guy, then this dude's free to do whatever he wants, and then these two push really hard. And usually when that happens, this guy is going to start chopping off this side of the field like this. Right? That's usually the purpose of doing that. So that you have a 3-man push going this direction. Okay, so to then continue along, we see the middle. Are there any bunkers that can really stop anything on the snake? It's kind of a teeny-ish gap. You have this gap here that you could watch. Obviously this 50 gap, but you don't really have a whole lot that can shoot much. You have this can, but I wouldn't stay cross to hold this gap, Because not only are you conceding them, you're conceding the ground up until the snake too. So you're just giving them that ground for free if that's your guy that's watching containment on the snake. But it's also a pretty lousy gap to hold, and you halt your Dorito progress because your number 2 is staying dedicated on a cross shot. So not great. Wow, there's like nothing that can see that snake 1 to snake 2 move. So like, okay, so if we go to the snake wing, I mean, you do have to worry about shots just like dropping in, heads up, but those are pretty easy to dodge. And then obviously you have this tower guy to worry about if he does play up here. So this tower guy, the tower on the Dorito side, can it shoot the snake? This guy right here, he cannot. This guy cannot. So there's really not a lot that you can see. I mean, this juice box can see, but you don't really want to do that. You don't want to stay dedicated there. So this first bump is going to be kind of tricky because you can't get the tower guy to flinch. So, but the perk to this is just that you should, because this is such a small gap, like from here to here is a teeny gap for this tower guy to shoot you in. Because that's the case, if he's not shooting it and you take this dive quickly, he won't kill you. So that means that he has to be pumping paint into this zone to stop you from moving. And if that's the case, you can just read that. You can just tell your guy like, hey, the tower dude's shooting at me, I can't go anywhere. So that's usually like a pretty straightforward problem, right? The way that you can break out of that is you can either come back here to the corner. I know that's kind of weird, but like, who's going to shoot you? The snake guy's busy doing his own thing. The tower guy's staying disciplined on you. Obviously, the middle guy, you want to, you know, if there's a dude right here watching you, you'd want to be very careful to do this play, but you could definitely shadow back here. Look, nobody can see you. Literally no one can see you. And then you break out right here. This gap right here is going to suck. Because that, if there is a guy in the middle, he's going to kill you. And you have to make this quickly. So I would just dive like this. And so if you are struggling to get out of that snake wing and you know that they're in the snake before you and you've got to do some kind of stoppage or containment, that's the play I would probably make. But you're just in a really tough spot. And at that point, if you were the number 1 and you have a guy here, oof, it's actually not really doable. I was going to say, if you come here, this guy has to be the number 1, but he can't make it. So if you decide to do the kick out play where you send where this is the setup, then if you have to make this move, I would have this guy become the number 1 and get into the snake. So, okay, getting in the snake 1 then. Again, what we're primarily concerned with is what routes we need to, what's stopping us from getting up to the 50, and who are the people that we should shoot right when we move up the field. You have gaps here that you can hold. The 50 guy, I'm not sure what it'll look like at the event, but assuming that pin is placed correctly, you probably could just blind out the middle dude. You can obviously send paint into this zone if you need to, if you hear a Dorito 3 call. Yeah, Dorito 3 call. If you hear Dorito 3, as by the time you get into snake, you could always just stay dedicated here for maybe 10 seconds. Otherwise, from here to here, okay, so this gap is bigger than I thought. This gap is definitely there. That guy can kill you as a response, as a reaction to you, as opposed to dumping the paint in that zone. So that is probably the biggest stoppage and probably the only stoppage. Well, okay. I think here's my assumption. I think this bunker is key. I think that's a key bunker, or it's kind of an either or. This bunker is key to stopping the snake. Because so far that is the only bunker that can see this gap right here. Those are the only 2 bunkers that can stop that gap. So I would suspect that the snake side is going to be the side that will blow points up, which will cause people to dedicate a lot of guns to stop it. So I would suspect that this is the hold side, is what we call it. And this is probably the fast side. But we'll find out. So getting then up into this snake W. We have a shot on the can on the Dorito side. If we got here, I doubt there would be anybody there. And you obviously now can shoot the tower as well. This is not super great. It's a teeny gap, but it's there. And then you obviously have a wrap on the home or the center brick guy, and then you could shoot at the Dorito guy, the Dorito 1 it looks like. I don't think you would kill them. So there's so far no guaranteed kills. If you got here, this gap you could surprise somebody in that Aztec, but they're probably staying dedicated on you. So I'd be surprised if you shot them without them seeing you or without them looking at you. I'd be very surprised by that. So no free kills up until the 40 wedge so far. I would probably not play the inside of this unless the snake side was the only side left and you wanted to do some like sneaky run through on the highway. So otherwise, playing heads up, you just have the cake to worry about that would stop you. So if you low wrap at the 40, the can is dead for sure. So you home guys need to get out of the can. You need to find somewhere else to be. This guy is living behind his gun, or you're shooting him in the pack. So either way, this is like a heads up fight. You don't have any other free kills, so the home guy is the first free kill here for sure. You also do need to worry about this Aztec right here. So you can't just wrap that. You have to check this guy off. Unless the number 2s are going here, I doubt that would be a common bunker to be filled in at this point, unless you tigered, you got a tiger 2 on the snake side and the home guy filled out right here. But if that's the case, this is a really strong fight for you, I would say. You could ignore him possibly. If you checked off where the Doritos were and they weren't looking your way, you could come here and possibly do some damage to this Dorito 2 guy right here. This is in the case that you've tigered both the people on the snake side and the home filled out to plug the hole. You could tiger those 2 people, and then you could either challenge him from the inside route right here, or you could challenge him right here. And depending on if you get him to flinch or not, if you get him to flinch, then you can dive back in here up into this wedge and come here and challenge from this spot. That's just a kind of a creative way. But otherwise, when you get to their 40 wedge, the Dorito 3, 1, and Beast, we'll call this the baby, are pretty much dead. Those are pretty strong kills for you. The Dorito side can is dead for sure. That guy can't live. So you've got 3, 4 kills maybe. 4 tigers from their wedge. So get to their wedge. It seems like that would be the name of the game. And then you can also blind out the guy in the Aztec pretty easily. So give me just a second. I got to take this call really quick. Okay, sorry about that. My dad's in town. Okay, so then let's look at the Dorito side and then we'll be done. So Dorito side, let's look at this baby. Baby Dorito, you have a lot of heads up battle you've got to fight. You have the tower guys or the can guy to fight, or the wedge. So it's going to be one of those 3, right? They can't be in all 3 of these bunkers. So you just have to find out where the middle dude is, and then you know who you need to challenge. If you were to be the number 1 in this position, to then dive out here to the Dorito 2. If you got super hard stuck, you could dump some paint into this zone. Shooting at the god, maybe the tower. The tower guy might be shooting at you. That Dorito tower might be shooting at you, and in which case this would be a bad bunker to be in, because you're gonna get pinched out for sure. So I can't really evaluate the juice box because it's literally floating, but I'm pretty sure it's straightforward. The nice thing about... So I probably wouldn't go to this baby Dorito because it's very hard to survive here and it would be very hard to get out. The only way you could get out is if the number 1 in the Dorito was already in the Doritos, in which case you could come here. But what we're seeing is that, like, if you look at this, there's nobody heads up that's going to stop you. So it's really a 1v1 on whoever the middle guy is to push up the middle. So which makes it pretty straightforward. I would suspect this is true, that then this is the fast side, because usually the fast side of the field is any side of the field where it becomes a one-on-one between the front players and the mid players and a race to get to the 50 before essentially your mirror, right? So the number 1s on either side are trying to race to get to these bunkers, and the only people that are stopping them are these guys on the inside that they have to worry about. So it's a 1v1 until you get to the 50, and then it becomes a 2v1. So Dorito side looks super strong though. I mean, you've got really safe, easy challenges. If you wanted, you probably couldn't duck. You couldn't duck below the Dorito tower, or excuse me, that tower, I don't think, but you could definitely blind out the can. So if they pulled up short to the can, let's say you ran out to this juice box, you get here, you shoot your heads up or whatever, you stand up over the top, you get the can guy to flinch, you can take this bite all the way. Because look, who's going to stop you? And some middle guy might, if their number 3 pushes up to the 50, he would stop you, but there's nobody, unless the home guy's looking your way. There's nobody that's going to stop you from going to the Dorito 3 or even to the 50. But if you wanted to play it safe, whenever you took this bite, you could just go to the Dorito 2, halt for a second, check off the can, go low, get to here, and then now you've got a really strong challenge on the Dorito side can. Also a really strong challenge on the Dorito tower. You could keep blinding them out if you wanted and check off the middle, and then potentially kill this Aztec guy if they sent an Aztec. So that would be the highest priority for me, because if I'm a Dorito player and I can kill that Aztec guy, I essentially release the snake. I free up the snake. So then once I get here, if the 50 is looking at me, obviously I couldn't make this move, but if he's not and I know he's there, I can threaten him. But now it becomes a really heads up close headshot battle. If I were you, if I was a front Dorito player, I would be practicing this snapshot like crazy. I'd be putting up a target. I would do snapshot drill against somebody to get really comfortable with this battle, because this is super close. It'll be super uncomfortable, and you want to make sure that your shot is like really accurate for this. Otherwise, if you wrap, you do kind of have to check off the can. You can't just do this for free. Definitely have to check off the tower, but otherwise, if the can is the only guy, you can crawl up to here and for sure kill the 50. This guy's definitely dead, obviously. Snakeside Wedge is dead as well, right here. And then from here, it's just a simple, rap battle, as we like to say. The home guy's dead for sure. So really, your only guaranteed kill in the Doritos is... Well, if you got to here, you would definitely kill the Aztec up close. You would probably kill the God bunker, or this Aztec rather, not the God. The Aztec on the snake side. That seems to be the most free kills. There's definitely some creative moves up the middle here too, but that would be my thing. So I would say that the key bunkers are going to be, obviously these are super key to get to really fast. This bunker is probably key, or this one. One of these two. This dead zone is pretty creative, so get creative with that. And then this route is also really easy to make. Remember that the cross shot from that dead zone is really strong, and it's also pretty strong to shoot heads up too. I don't remember what the gap is just exactly, but there is a gap right here that you can shoot. Home guy, did we say the home guy has shots on the Dorito? We have a gap here. Gap here to shoot. Not great. The snake side gap is way stronger. So this gap is super easy. Sample breakouts. Well, if it were me, I mean, I think a creative one would be to send your 3 here. looking snake way and read and reacting to then filter up to the middle and holding off that zone from there, depending on if he crossed it or not. And then if that were the case, I would send this guy here and your number 1 here. Your number 1 would shoot this way. Your number 2 would shoot towards the snake as well, wherever that shot was. And then you would do just like a standard breakout on the Doritos. You'd send a guy here, and you could send a guy either here or here. It doesn't really matter. Just usually when you're doing something creative on one side or you're risking on one side, it just isn't really a risk play in a traditional sense. It's a risk play because you're pulling up short, but you're trading off pulling up short for possibly getting a kill off the break. If you were to make that play, you just need to make sure you're doing the safest thing on the opposite side of the field. So that's an option. Another option is, like, generally speaking, what the Doritos rolls are going to be is to get to the bunker that's the safest, and then depending on if you need a point or not, you just fight really aggressively. So like I had said before, if you get to here off the break and you know you need to win a point, it's pretty easy to put in the 2 guys in front of you at this range and then take the bite up to the Dorito 2. And that's pretty safe because the home guy can't shoot you. The home guy would shoot you if you made the next gap, but before then you're pretty safe. So there's not really a whole lot of like different breakouts for the Doritos. It's really just like, do you want to go here or do you want to go here? You could, if you wanted to get creative, you could dive here and then get to here. But the difference between doing that or doing this is really just like, is it safer or not? That would be how I would gauge that. So if you are going to do this inside route right here, I would just probably not go to the corner. That's probably the only thing I would do on the opposite side. Those are pretty risky. So instead, I would either take a safe bite into this whatever wing or take a bite into here. So another breakout could be pretty safe and standard. You just kind of kick everybody else out, and then you make a choice. You can make this choice based on what the start box looks like, and then it's just this. That's the other option. If you wanted to do kind of a middle push, you could do this. I would probably send your 3 here and then 2 and 1. So you could do this as well. This guy would look heads up. So what you're doing is when this guy gets in position at this wedge, this dude releases the cross shot. And the purpose for that is that you almost guarantee their containment in this zone. You almost guarantee them to stop here. And when you do, this guy then picks it up to ensure that his positioning is maximal. And this guy has the vantage point to see which direction this dude's looking, or to see if he survived. And if that's the case, then he can just release and look heads up. So that could be like a middle push if you wanted. I mean, in this case, you could probably send your number 3 to go here. It's just that you always run the risk of not hitting that shot on the snake side. And the problem is if you've got a guy here and you didn't kill the guy in the snake, he's going to get up to this 50 pretty quickly and chop up your guy on the opposite side. So you just have to, that's the reason why you probably would put this guy here. I just think this is a really strong bunker. The downside to it is that it's very far up the field and can be pinched out very easily. So your safer play after the point has been kind of developed is to get to this 50, because at least the angles are a lot easier to survive. Even though this looks really hard to survive, you can survive this gap much better than you could this gap. Even though the angles are more are like not as deep, that's just a really hard position to survive in. The snake is, I mean, you could run out to this corner and then take a big route up here, I think is what we saw. But really, it's just that this gap from here to here can only be stopped by this person or this person, really. Like, this guy is a concern, but it's mostly from here to here that's a concern. But, like, this gap can only be stopped by... Did we say he could be stopped by the tower? I don't even think it can be. No, see, the tower can't see you. So... The biggest key for the snake guys is to make this bite as fast as possible, ensuring that there's nobody here and here. So it's probably the other reason why your number 3 is probably going to be playing these 2 bunkers most of the tournament. Because if he stops here, then this gap is easier to make. And you have to, if you're going to make that play, you have to almost ensure. You could do something like this. You could do something like this where your number 2 is responsible for that. And the reason you would do this is because you know this guy's survivability is not good. And so you want to ensure that if he gets killed for whatever reason, that your number 3 can help support the Dorito side push. If that happens. The other option is that if this guy gets compromised because of their positioning, he can always dive out here and help support the push that way. So again, he's not really that much safer from the snake is the only problem, because he actually just opens himself up even further. It's also possible that he backtracks. He comes back here. That's also an option. And it's probably a safer route to do that, to hold this zone. But... and that's probably, that might be even what I would do if I was to send the number 2 on the Dorito side to this gap, and if they were to cross it, I'd probably just run back here and play this gap, hold this zone. So hopefully that helps. Okay, I gotta end. Oh my goodness, gonna end the stream there. Thanks so much for watching. Hopefully you learned something. These are facts. Thanks for being a member, man. You're one of the biggest supporters of the channel, so thank you for that. I don't know if I have any announcements, actually. I'll probably be streaming video games at some point today. I don't know when exactly, but be on the lookout for that. If you guys are watching this on a YouTube channel and this benefited you in any way, please share or type in the comments what you learned. Or also just like report back after the first weekend's practice. It's always really interesting and insightful to hear what people have to say about the layout, and also tell your friends about it. You know, if you guys smash everybody at the tournament, give your boy a shout out. So anyway, thanks guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.